Hello there, very good evening and welcome to your Primetime News Bulletin with me, Sharon Silva.
And me, Nicola D'Souza. Let's start off with our headlines.
Deputy Minister Ranjan Ramanayake challenges former President Mahinda Rajapaksa to issue an affidavit that he did not receive funds from China. Ranjan Ramanayake lodges complaint at FCID. Supreme Court orders former North Central Province Chief Minister Peshala Jayaratne to cough up fine for illegal transfer of principal. Search operation to find missing tusker in Kalaweva Reserve. World champions Germany crash out in World Cup group stages at the hands of South Korea.
Former governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Ajit Nivard Cabral, has issued a statement responding to the allegations detailed in the report published by the New York Times.
On Monday, the 25th of this month, the New York Times published an investigative report headlined "How China Got Sri Lanka to Cough Up a Port." Referring to the humbug that the report revealed how China had granted Sri Lanka loan facilities at exorbitantly high interest rates, which the New York Times said was the most vivid examples of China's ambitious use of loans and aid to gain influence around the world and of its willingness to play hardball to collect. The report also revealed that at least $7.6 million was dispensed from China Harbour's account at Standard Chartered Bank to affiliates of Rajapaksa's campaign. Responding to these claims made by the New York Times, former governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Ajit Nivard Cabral, said, "The report written by Maria Abi Habib undoubtedly confirms she was on a mission to provide a predetermined and completely one-sided viewpoint." The former central bank governor says, despite an hour-long interview where he countered every allegation raised by the journalist, Maria Abi Habib has chosen to ignore all his responses. When contacted by Newsfirst, Maria Abi Habib said it is only the ability of former President Mahinda Rajapaksa to speak to the allegations that China Harbour Engineering Company Limited funded his campaign. She said, quote, "We tried to contact Rajapaksa multiple times via phone, email and WhatsApp," unquote, but did not receive a response. She adds the former president's team, quote, "should have been able to respond to the 10 very detailed questions we sent them multiple times over 2 months," unquote. Maria Abi Habib said she flew to Sri Lanka multiple times to interview both Mahinda Rajapaksa and Basil Rajapaksa and never got a positive response about an interview. The International Monetary Fund has on several occasions warned Sri Lanka to be cautious about China's Belt and Road Initiative. The International Monetary Fund has on several occasions warned Sri Lanka to be cautious about China's Belt and Road Initiative. The IMF made the warning in its 2018 Article 4 consultation and the fourth review under the extended arrangement under the Extended Fund Facility issued on the 20th of this month. In its fourth review, the IMF says to reap the benefits of China's Belt and Road Initiative, Sri Lanka should carefully manage large-scale capital projects. It adds while the Hambantota Port and Colombo Port City project can foster Sri Lanka's growth through greater regional trade and financial integration, they should be selected and managed carefully, given the country's high public debt and social development needs. Staff stressed with the authorities the importance of sound and transparent project selection. Addressing a conference in Beijing on the 12th of April this year, IMF Managing Director Christine Lagarde said, quote, "The Belt and Road Initiative can provide much-needed infrastructure financing to partner countries. However, these ventures can also lead to a problematic increase in debt, potentially limiting other spending as debt service rises and creating balance of payment challenges. In countries where public debt is already high, careful management of financing terms is critical," unquote. According to the IMF, outstanding bilateral loans from China to Sri Lanka's public sector, including state-owned enterprises, are estimated at about $4.6 billion at end 2016, which is 5.8% of the GDP. However, while the IMF has also lended Sri Lanka a massive amount of loans, various conditions were presented to the country to release the final tranche of a $1.5 billion loan. The government of Sri Lanka was scrutinized as it made legal reforms to the Exchange Control Act and Inland Revenue Act and also introduced a new pricing mechanism for fuel and electricity as per the requirements of the IMF. Meanwhile, MP Namal Rajapaksa tweeted yesterday saying, quote, "Many inaccuracies in this article. Acknowledging the port is near one of the world's busiest shipping lanes shows why it's still a major focus for the West, fearing China's growing global influence. Sri Lanka's assets shouldn't be used as geopolitical pawns in this power struggle."
$5 Mahinda Rajapaksa lost, leaving a debt of $5 billion. It is a shame to say he received funds for the presidential election, making the rest of the people in this country debtors. As this issue comes out, we saw Mahinda Rajapaksa's son Namal Rajapaksa responding via Twitter. This is what you call nonsensical answers. He says, these are being done because of jealousy. Please read this properly. They are talking about what has happened to Sri Lanka, not China. There are three people who can confirm this. One is Susil Premajanta, who was the then General Secretary of the United People's Freedom Alliance. He was the one who served as the chairman of the organizing committee of the presidential election. The second person is Anurupiya Darshanayapa, who was the General Secretary of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. The third person is China Harbour. If there are accusations about certain things, all I have to say is that every country has a law, doesn't it?
We request the appointment of a presidential commission of inquiry equipped with all powers. If Mahinda Rajapaksa says that these allegations are false, he must hand an affidavit into Parliament.
On to a story that made the headlines tonight. Now, Deputy Minister Ranjan Ramanayake filed a complaint with the Police Financial Crimes Investigation Division today against former President Mahinda Rajapaksa.
In his complaint, Deputy Minister Ranjan Ramanayake requests an investigation to be carried out over the New York Times expose, claiming that as the 2015 January election inched closer, large payments from China flowed into Rajapaksa's campaign. The Deputy Minister commented on the matter in Colombo.
Mahinda
Rajapaksa, while in Japan, had said if it is proven that he had taken even a single dollar, he would kill himself. He is a popular leader in the country. We request him not to kill himself, but to return the money. There is a trend in the country where money is being returned. There is another trend in the country where affidavits are given. So in light of this, I issue a challenge. If you have not taken a red cent from China merchants or any of its affiliated companies, please provide us an affidavit.
The Central Bank of Sri Lanka says allegations that the central bank is involved in manipulating GDP estimates are totally unfounded.
Issuing a press release today, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka says the sole responsibility of compiling gross domestic product estimates is vested with the Department of Census and Statistics since 2007. However, in its release, the Central Bank says it has observed media statements by interested parties claiming the involvement of the CBSL in manipulating GDP estimates of the country have misled the general public. The release adds GDP estimates were compiled and disseminated by both the Central Bank and Department of Census and Statistics. The Central Bank says, however, considering the importance of entrusting the role of data compilation with an independent authority, CBSL discontinued the compilation of GDP estimates since 2007, allowing the responsibility of compiling GDP estimates to be vested solely with the Department of Census and Statistics. It adds that the Central Bank remains a key user of such estimates for economic analysis and monetary policy formulation purposes. Considering the Central Bank's statement, a reasonable doubt arises concerning the data published by the Department of Census and Statistics. Now that the Central Bank has confirmed the compilation of the GDP data is the sole purview of the Department of Census and Statistics, it is our understanding that the department will be making a statement in this connection. Whispers indicate that the Department of Census and Statistics will likely blame world practice for the methodology used to publish the data. Meanwhile, Central Bank Governor Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy issued a statement responding to the allegations levelled by former Finance Minister Ravi Karunanayake against Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe, Senior Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. In the statement, Dr. Kumaraswamy says Dr. Veerasinghe is an outstanding economist who has made a stellar contribution to the work of the bank during the 2 years I have spent in this position.
Does remaining silent or pointing the finger at another provide solutions to the issues raised by the general public? It's been months since the report of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry into the bond scam was prepared and presented, and the scam was termed as the largest financial fraud in Sri Lankan history. On behalf of the people, civil organizations, the media and other groups demanded that all information in this report be made available. Yet, a certain number of pages in this report are hidden or kept hidden. How did President Secretary Austin Fernando get the power to conceal this report by directing it to the Department of National Archives, where it would be kept away from the public for a period of 30 years. Why is this report kept hidden, citing various reasons? Whose wishes are being fulfilled through such actions? What is the senior-most public servant with many years of experience concealing from the public? Who is he protecting? A questionnaire was directed to the Prime Minister by the Attorney General's Department before he visited the Bond Commission. Despite the presence of Yasantha Kodagoda, a prominent attorney at the Commission, it was the Attorney General himself who questioned the Prime Minister. Minister Malik Samaravikrama and Minister Kabir Hashim were questioned only for a few minutes. What was discussed among these people at the breakfast meeting held on the day before the bond auction? Those details remain a mystery. Why has such a thing transpired? The people of this country await a just and reasonable explanation to this. We continue to question this matter as it is the people's money that has been looted. We wish to stress that one cannot remain silent or avoid the issue forever. If anyone is challenging the revelations we have made, why is it that they have not made any explanation with just and scientific evidence? It is important to note, those who remain silent in the presence of the people and avoid these issues will be rejected by the people themselves in the future.
We receive daily reports of public funds going to waste in the tune of millions and billions. What if these funds were put to use for something important like education, which is something important to all the children in the country?
This is the Niyandagala Primary School in Thanamalvilla. The school, which was founded in 1953, educates around 30 students from grade 1 to 5, and this footage clearly shows they received their education in the absence of basic facilities. The Uber Provincial Council allocated over ₹1 million to renovate only buildings of this school, which is in a dilapidated state. The renovation came to a halt as parents alleged there was no use in renovating the school. Since the renovation came to a standstill, this is how these children in this school received their education. Parents say this had resulted in the educational functions in the entire school being disrupted.
This is a school built in 1953, and when the renovations commenced, there was an allegation raised by the parents which said there was no point in carrying out repairs. The staff discussed and decided to create small rooms with the roofing sheets that were removed. But the situation is such the parents are not able to commit to it.
There is dust everywhere, so we cannot eat. The books are sometimes blown away with the wind. It is difficult to study. There is dust all over. We want to pass the grade 5 scholarship examination. All we want is a new school building. The children are sad of what has happened. We have no place to house the children.
When they came to renovate, we opposed because we understood the true situation when the repairs began. Even the bricks started to fall off. There is no point in renovating such a building.
We asked the education authorities why they have neglected this school in the village. Is it because it is located in a forest area? Today, the parents of students at the Maha Ambagasveva Sri Rahula Vidyalaya in the Madirigiriya education zone protested, demanding a solution to the shortage of teachers in the school. We have not received a solution to the shortage of teachers. We do not have an English teacher. It's been 2 years since we had an English teacher. The students facing the ordinary level examination have no way of learning English.
We have achieved all island results. Our students have a score of 85% in all educational activities.
The University Grants Commission says it will seek advice from the Attorney General to recover money if it had suffered any disadvantage from investing monies from the university's Provident Fund in treasury bonds. The UGC said it had informed the Central Bank of perpetual treasuries manipulating prices in the secondary market and generating an illegal profit.
In a statement, the University's Grant Commission points out, as per the provisions in Circular Number 1 of 2015 for the University's Provident Fund, a committee has been vested with the power of making investments. The UGC says its funds have been investment in treasury bonds and fixed deposits in state banks and affiliated financial institutions. The Commission notes competitive prices were called and evaluated, and thereafter the investment committee had decided to make the investments for the highest available interest rate. The University Grants Commission stressed that there was no transaction whatsoever, directly or indirectly, with the Perpetual Treasuries Limited.
The Supreme Court today ordered former North Central Province Chief Minister Peshla Jayaratne to pay compensation amounting to 250,000 rupees.
A fundamental rights petition was filed against the transfer of the principal of the Nivantaka Chethiya Mahavidyalaya, Karunaratna Bandara, on the 14th of September 2016 on the basis that it was unlawful.
On the 14th of September 2016, I received a transfer from the Secretary to the North Central Provincial Council Education Ministry. The Chief Minister was not happy about this at the event to lay the foundation stone. Accordingly, the transfer was changed on his orders. After that, I received a letter of transfer. I appealed and made numerous requests to change this transfer and to continue working at the school. However, no official paid any attention to this.
When delivering the order, the Supreme Court ruled that Peshla Jayaratne should also pay state compensation amounting to Rs 50,000. The court also ordered that Karunaratna Bandara be reinstated as the principal of the Nivantaka Chethiya Mahavidyalaya within 2 months.
It was revealed at the Presidential Commission of Inquiry that Phoenix Rising Ventures had purchased certain goods without authorization. Newsfirst's Zulfiq Farzan, who is following the proceedings of the Commission, filed this report.
The witness today testified that in November 2011, Phoenix Rising Ventures had imported 4 different varieties of alcohol in the name of Sri Lankan Airlines. Now, these imports were done at a cost of $175,107 US. However, it must be noted that this period, in November 2011, Phoenix Rising Ventures were only permitted to import fragrances and cosmetics under the name of Sri Lankan Airlines. The witness testified that they were not authorized to import liquor or alcohol during this period, as they were only permitted to bring down cosmetics and fragrances. The witness also went on to note that when it comes to the purchase of goods, they are only aware of the quantity that Phoenix Rising Ventures informs them about. Since the commencement of Newsfirst's coverage of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry into alleged malpractices at Sri Lankan Airlines, Sri Lankan Catering and Mihin Lanka, there have been numerous queries from the viewing public on whether we will continue to report on the proceedings. While there is no doubt whatsoever that Newsfirst will continue to report on the proceedings of the Commission, we pray that it will not simply be a repeat of the proceedings of the Commission of the Inquiry of Bond Issuances.
Reports have surfaced that a mob led by the chairman of the Niyagama Pradeshiya Sabha had assaulted 4 people in the Pittigala area.
It was reported that 2 young men and 2 middle-aged men were beaten in the Porogama area in Pittigala. The men have been identified as the 2 sons and 2 servants of Veerasena Palyaguruge, a resident of Mirigama and the owner of the house located near the location of the assault. The 4 men who were assaulted claim the chairman of the Niyagama Pradeshiya Sabha, Prasad Virakodi, had attacked them.
The chairman of the Niyagama Pradeshiya Sabha came here with a group of thugs in his official vehicle. He tried to manhandle me and I avoided it. Then he started to attack my sons and servants. The attackers were the chairman of the Pradeshiya Sabha, his group of thugs, his brother-in-law Chandasiri Kumara and his youngest son.
The chairman of the Pradeshiya Sabha had gotten involved in this clash after one of his relatives had gotten into an altercation with the victims of the attack due to a land dispute. Once the police had arrived at the location to control the situation, the chairman of the Pradeshiya Sabha had called off the assault. However, the police had not taken any measure to apprehend the group. The injured were admitted to the Alpitia Base Hospital and they were discharged today after receiving treatment. The chairman of the Niyagama Pradesha Sabha, Prasad Virakkodi, is well known for using his political power to solve issues of his relatives and associates, and is one who contested the polls under the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. His name had made its way to police records on a number of occasions over similar incidents. In 2010, after coming into power, the chairman of the Niyagama Pradesha Sabha, Prasad Virakkodi, and Southern Provincial Councillor Chamli Vitanachi had allegedly threatened and manhandled a group of UNP supporters, and for that they were remanded on the 12th of February 2015. In 2011, he was accused of attacking Ruwan Ganlage, the management officer of then Deputy Speaker Chandima Virakkodi. In 2014, he was accused of attacking a development officer attached to the Karapitia Teaching Hospital in Galle and his wife. Politicians are given power to serve the people. However, these politicians had used that power to trouble the people.
The United National Party held a media briefing at the party headquarters, Sirikota, today.
There are two similarities between Hitler and Gotabaya, one of which is the fact that they are both vegetarians. The other is the fact that Hitler wasn't a German citizen. He was Austrian. There isn't anything he didn't do to become a German citizen. At one time, he was even ready to join the police. Why? Because you can't become the German leader without becoming a German citizen. So these two similarities are there. Even Gotabaya doesn't have Sri Lankan citizenship today. He is an American. This shows that they have strong similarities. As a country that believes in basic rights, we do not believe in this. I challenge him. Let him get rid of his American citizenship whether he contests for presidency or not. If he loves our country, our identity, if he loves Buddhism, let him do it. I ask, is he ready to renounce his US citizenship?
The 86th and 87th villages constructed under the Nava Uda Gammana program were declared open in the Mirakkarni Eravur area in Batiklo district. The event was graced by Deputy Leader of the United National Party, Minister Sajith Premadasa.
The villages declared open today were the Samsam Gramam and Zakat Gramam located in Mirakkarni, Eravur. Minister Sajith Premadasa presented title deeds for 43 houses today. The presentation of freehold deeds and housing loans were also done along with the project.
The group which was sent packing by the people have become chameleons. When they were in power, they went to Berwala and added fire to the haystack. Recently, they went Kandy and did the same. They have a desire to return to temple trees and the presidential palace. Because of that, they forced their way into iftar events. They ask for forgiveness for the sins of the past. He says racism and segregation was created for his sustenance and he seeks forgiveness. We have a new breed of chameleons who are walking about making such statements.
Today marks the second day of the Pulasti Poson Udanaya, which is taking place at the premises of the Polonnaruwa Galviharaya. Devotees were given the opportunity to pay reverence to the Sarvanya relics and the Maharahat relics brought down from the Nelligala International Buddhist Center.
The Sarvanya relics and the relics of the Maharahat will continue to be placed at the Galviharaya boat tomorrow and the day after tomorrow for devotees to pay reverence. All devotees coming to the Galviharaya premises to visit the Pulatisiposon zone will have the opportunity to pay reverence to the Buddha's sacred hair relics and also relics of the Maharahat Theras. The Pulatisiposon Udanaya, which is sponsored by Newsfirst, will end on the 30th of June.
A search mission was launched today in order to trace Digadanthu, the tusker who is bided to have the longest pair of tusks amongst the tuskers in the Kalawava sanctuary.
Fishermen in the area informed wildlife officers on the 12th of this month that the tusker is suffering with gunshot wounds on his left foot. After being informed, the veterinary surgeon started treating the tusker and the animal was treated for 3 days from time to time after the first treatment. The tusker was last treated on the 18th of this month prior to its disappearance. The wildlife officers have identified Kahallapallekale, Galgamu and Rasvahara reserves as the possible hideouts of the tusker. 9 search teams consisting wildlife, veterinary and civil defence force officers were deployed today to the Kahallapallekale reserve to search for Digadanthu. And this search lasted for several hours. The wildlife officers say even though footprints believed to belong to this tusker were discovered, they say they are several days old. Our correspondent said even after an almost 10-hour-long search, there were no clues found of the location of the tusker. There are approximately 350 elephants living in the Kalawava sanctuary. Digadanthu 1 is currently the holder of the longest pair of tusks in the Kalawava valley. Digadanthu 2, who suffered injuries from a poaching gun last July, is another tusker which shows much similarities to Digadanthu 1. Currently, around 6,000 tuskers are left in Sri Lanka. Environmentalists point out that Galgamodala Putwa, Tabova Tusker and Vitigala Tanidalaya were killed while Katiradala Etta and Mahasain Tusker were missing due to various human activities in the recent past.
Issuing Sri Lanka's new development update report, the World Bank says Sri Lanka needs more and better jobs that are critical to reach upper middle income status.
Many dream not only of working for the established big name companies, but as self-starters who develop companies that actually they eventually sell to the big names. This buzz has not yet taken root in Sri Lanka, despite its middle income status. What I hear most from young people here when I speak to them is that they are conditioned by their parental influence to become doctors and lawyers and then work in the public sector. But how many people can be absorbed in the public sector in these jobs? Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong in being a lawyer or a doctor, knowing working in the public sector. The question I'm putting on the table is this the only future that our young can aspire for?
In 2017, for the first time in decades, Sri Lanka's fiscal revenue has exceeded expenditures excluding interest payments, leading to a primary fiscal surplus. However, the report says, despite this and other improvements in macroeconomic performance, the island nation remains vulnerable. The latest edition of the SLDU notes that the economic growth slowed down to a 16-year low in 2017 due to mainly adverse weather conditions. The external trade balance weakened and agriculture and related sectors were hit hard by successive floods and droughts, resulting in growth decelerating to 3.3%. During the last decade, the employment rate in Sri Lanka decreased on average by 0.5% every year. The report says low female labour force participation and increasing unemployment among youth have contributed to Sri Lanka's low employment rate.
If you go back to the debt, as we said, the portfolio, the composition is where the risks are. There are other challenges in debt management. For example, the legal framework is still fragmented, the debt management function is fragmented, and there's no quantitative strategy, and we hope that these reforms will accelerate in the future.
The Manor Welfare Association, which is based in the United Kingdom today, donated medical equipment worth around 2.6 million rupees to the Manor General Hospital.
Dignitaries including cardiologist Dr. Myron Shanmuganathan have been providing medical services at the Manor General Hospital since Monday. The doctors have been visiting the Manor General Hospital every 4 months since 2007 to provide medical treatment for free. This time, the doctors had also donated an ECG machine and a defibrillator to the hospital.
Meanwhile, Colombia are through to the next round as group winners after defeating Senegal 1-0.
And with that, we wrap up tonight's Primetime News. Thank you for joining us. For the News First team, I'm Nicola De Zoiza.
And I'm Sharon Silva. Take care and good night.
Night.